Today, I'm at Mackinac Island, an island so unique it's ranked as one of the top summer travel destinations in America.
But it's also one of the most confusing. From how to visit the iconic Grand Hotel without overpaying to the truth about renting a bicycle. Here are the biggest mistakes to avoid on Mackinac Island. Since no one is driving a car or even a golf cart on the island, getting around can be a bit tricky. You really only have three options. You can walk, you can ride a bike, or you can take a horse-drawn carriage.
This is my favorite thing.
Walking is totally free, but the other two are gonna cost you. The horse-drawn carriages serve as a sort of taxi service, but there's a massive catch. A huge mistake people make is thinking you can just stand on the road and hail a horse taxi like it's a yellow cab in New York. You can't. You're just gonna be standing there waving at a horse as it goes by. You need to call the main number for the Mackinac Island Carriage Company and request a pickup, just like they did in the 1800s, right? The fee varies, of course, depending on your destination, but expect to pay around $10 per person with a two-person minimum.
But before you can start basking in the horse-drawn carriages, you've got to actually get to the island. And the only way to get to and from the island is by ferry.
But don't make the mistake of missing the bridge tour just because you didn't know it existed. A couple of times a day, the ferry will go all the way under the famous suspension bridge that connects the upper and lower peninsulas of Michigan. This is usually free. You just have to know when they happen, which is probably listed online. You'll also have the option of riding on the open air top deck of the ferry or inside the cabin below. Before you head upstairs, just know the top can get windy depending on the weather, and you may get sprayed with lake water. Even so, it's totally worth it for the views. Since waiting around for a horse isn't always the fastest move once you get here, biking on the tiny island is extremely popular. It's actually one of the best modes of transportation, and it doubles as one of the best ways to see the whole island. But a major trap people fall into is bringing their own bike from home. You absolutely can bring it over on the ferry with you for around $20 extra, but if I'm being honest, it's usually way more of a hassle than it's worth. Most people just rent bikes once you're there. Not only are you skipping the headache of lugging the bike around, you can just hand back a rental at the end of the day and not worry about having to find an open bike rack. But renting can be steep on the price, and the bikes aren't exactly straight out of the showroom condition, but hey, at least they're everywhere. There's several places right by where the ferries dock, and they're also available at a bunch of the hotels. If you're wondering how much this is gonna set you back though, you might find a rental for around $20 an hour, but a half day is slightly better deal at about $70 for 4 hours, or you can drop around $100 for a full day. Most people rent these for a half day, which gives you enough time to tackle the ultimate island adventure, biking around the entire outer rim of the island. Just don't make the mistake of thinking this is a casual little spin around the block, because here's the reality. Sure, the island is only 3 miles long by 2 miles wide, but the road that goes around the entire perimeter is an 8-mile bike ride. It's gorgeous though. If you're able, it's a must-do activity. But I mean, it is 8 miles on a bicycle, and some of that is definitely uphill. So make sure your legs are ready for that kind of a commitment.
I actually woke up this morning and thought, I'd like to ride 8 miles on a bicycle. How hard could it be? I did this to myself.
Now, one of the reasons that specific bike ride is so popular is because the famous guided tour on the horse carriages, which you can buy for around $50 a person, doesn't even go to the backside of the island. You'll need to be on a bicycle to see that part. But you know what else you don't need a carriage tour for? Arch Rock. This is a massive natural rock in the shape of, you guessed it, an arch. The carriage tour will stop here for a few minutes so you can get out and grab some quick pictures, but a big mistake is assuming you have to pay for the tour just to see Arch Rock. You don't. You can walk right up to it if you want. It's completely free. The path that leads there is right behind the fort. Or you can spot it from the ground if you end up doing that 8-mile bike loop. Speaking of paying for things you might not need to, let's talk about the star of the show, the iconic Grand Hotel. It's the most prestigious and probably the most expensive spot on the island, but it's also a huge tourist attraction. It's so popular that they actually charge you just to walk in the lobby. It's around $15 a person, I believe. The interior was designed by the famous Dorothy Draper. It's colorful, it's vibrant, and it's the most old money style you'll ever lay eyes on. The real draw, though, is the front porch, which is supposedly the longest front porch in America. It's lined with rocking chairs and filled with visitors. Now, I love a good old money aesthetic, okay? If you watch my channel, you know I am here for it. But I have an unpopular opinion, and I think it's a mistake to blindly hand over your money just because everyone else is doing it. Especially if you have a low tolerance for places that take themselves a little too seriously. Because this place thinks very highly of itself. This particular spot leans a little more toward pretentious than I personally think is necessary. You can pull off that rich, historic aesthetic and still feel welcoming without veering into pretentious territory. Fancy hotels all over the country balance this perfectly. But for me, the Grand Hotel misses the mark on the vibe check.
It kind of smells like old money and stale crackers in here a little bit.
If you'd rather keep your $15, you can still walk all the way up to the building and admire it from the outside for free. You can also go into Sadie's ice cream shop, which is connected to the hotel and is great if you're tired of fudge and looking for a sweet treat. Now, we have to talk about something nobody ever tells you about Mackinac Island. Just between us, if you visit on a hot summer day, Main Street can get stinky. I mean, the 1800s were probably also pretty stinky. If you have horses walking up and down the exact same road all day, every day, they leave some pretty big messes behind, if you catch my drift. Occasionally, the smell can be a bit much. With more than 1 million visitors every year, that popular Main Street section, which is only about a 1/4 mile long, gets crowded, it gets hot, and it can even get stinky.
People always say how Mackinac Island is just beautiful weather in the summer, and maybe it usually is, but it is hot as heck right now. It is so hot outside. People are saying there's a heat wave. I guess it's not usually like this, but just be aware, sometimes it is hot.
If you have luggage, the big question is, do you take your luggage with you on this ferry? And how do you drag it all the way to your hotel? It's actually so much easier than you could ever imagine to make sure both you and your luggage make it to the 1800s. You'll drop off your luggage before you even get in line for the ferry. they hand you a ticket like you'd get when dropping bags with bell services at a hotel, and you just say goodbye because you don't have to worry about it again. Once you've docked on Mackinac Island, you don't even get them then. Your luggage goes directly to your hotel. You don't have to do anything. Now, you'll almost certainly beat your bags to the room, so it may be a few hours before they actually make it there, but once they do, the hotel should deliver them right to your door. It's pure magic. And when you leave, just be sure to give everything to the hotel a few hours ahead of your ferry departure time. Don't worry, your bags will be waiting for you as soon as you step off the ferry on the mainland. There's no waiting around on that side. Speaking of hotels, if you are staying overnight, one of my favorites is Mission Point Resort. I absolutely love the huge front lawn with the Adirondack chairs, and the breakfast here is amazing. But the rooms, like most rooms on the island, are very small and quaint. It's also a really long walk from the hotel to Main Street. Luckily, there's a shuttle service every hour or so. This is the one time where you don't have to call a taxi. There's a horse-drawn carriage that just shows up in front of the hotel doors. It's around $9 a person, so it's not really cheaper than calling a taxi, but it's convenient. Whether you're visiting for the day or staying the whole weekend, you'll have a great time now that you know what mistakes to avoid. I have tons of videos about all the best places to visit in the US and beyond on my channel, so check them out. I'm not even sure I like fudge.